What is going on, Culture Junkies? It's your boy Ken Shiro. We're back with another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. Today, we're talking all about G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, and this is one of the greatest cartoon shows of modern American history. Back in the day, it was an absolutely fantastic show, and honestly, if you weren't paying attention to the title card, this part of our origin story. Origin of us as fans of genre and kind of childhood. And G.I. Joe was definitely principal for that. But joining me on the show is my fellow 80s baby. Well, actually, weren't you, Ray Dada?
No. I was born in the 1980s, third month. So therefore, I was a baby for the first few years of the early 80s. By 84, I was a toddler. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I was a teen in the 90s, buddy. Teen, so 80s baby.
All right, bet. And also on the show is Follow Marvel. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing exceptionally well, and I think the description you gave, Dido, sort of applies to me because I was born halfway through.
That's right. You were the one.
So I'm 85, so like I remember mostly the late 80s going into the 90s. So like, yeah, it's passed me up a little bit, but yeah, that's
okay. All right, I got you.
Description.
I got you. I want to say what's up to Yang is over in the chat. Not on the show right now. I would love to have her on the show, but got other stuff that she's got to deal with. I want to say hi to Sam Champion. What's up, you all out there? Hope you are all ready to talk about everything G.I. Joe, because that's what it's all about. We're not going to waste time talking about anything else. There's going to be a lot of really cool stuff that we're talking about. I'll try and see if I can get my sound to come better for me, because Ian says my sound is going out. Hopefully you can hear me very well. But G.I. Joe, this show is all about. And real briefly, I kind of want to kind of say where this all originated. Honestly, this is G.I. Joe for us is, like I said, part of a series of shows that we're start to do on Culture Junkies Live throughout the rest of the year, called the shows that made Culture Junkies. And G.I. Joe was one of the number one fans of genre. It had everything. Youngin asks Fallen Marvel, what are you eating? That seems to be going around because I was eating pizza earlier. Had pizza for lunch. Had pizza
Easiest go-to food.
Yes, it is. It never get tired of it. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, GQ, wearing the Cobra shirt.
Hey,
Cobra,
what's going on?
La 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 la, and all that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, as I was trying to break it down to everybody that's out there in the audience, G.I. Joe is integral to our origin story as Culture Junkies, because the whether it be the toys, whether it be cartoon, miniseries, G.I. Joe was almost universally loved by every young man I knew on the playground. Like when we were all kids growing up, there was one show that we talk about all the time, or we make believe playing out in the yard where kids don't do. We always make shows. Hey, those are toy guns. But yeah, today is all about G.I. Joe, nothing else. All G.I. Joe. So let's get started. Let's see. So the first thing I kind of want to go over is the origins of G.I. Joe itself, from it being a toy line into vitalization in the 80s, and then cartoons. So originally back in the 1950s, we all know that America has this love affair with war. So how better to indoctrinate the young fellows, young men into wanting to be in service than create 12-inch action figures with kung fu grip, um, make them want to be soldiers back in the day. So it's like, I think it was the GI Joe figures out, and they were a fairly popular toy back in the 50s. So what do we remember about? We remember about the original toys. Have them, but you're a collector, so you may actually have one somewhere. Incredible collection. What do we remember about the original GI Joe toy?
In all honesty, obviously the original Joe toys, it was essentially the male version of Barbie at the time. Obviously, much more masculine, war toys, Real American Hero. But I don't think they were actually called Real American Hero back then. I think that's something that was actually born of the 80s. But yeah, I mean, that was the main thing. Like you said, it was really just kind of that, we were just coming out of the Second World War, and obviously a lot of kids, still, looked up to soldiers, looked up to the military, as they should. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that was kind of the subject of the day. That was kind of essentially what kids were interested in at the time. And we'll get into it later once we get down to the 3.5-inch line. But, the focus on these toys obviously was they were 12-inch figures of, the detail of the clothing, the accessories they came with, all of that sort of thing. So, I mean, that was, kind of where it started. But I mean, they took a very big change in focus once, we get into obviously the 80s. But, that's kind of where it started. So, yeah, I do not own any of the original G.I. Joe figures from the 50s or, from that time frame. It was never really on my radar to get, the old stuff. I kind of like more of the newer stuff, to be honest.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. All of that, all those are collector's items now. Like the original ones made back in the day, they were the original, what they call the original action figure. G.I. Joe. They had, back in the day, they were mostly dolls. They weren't even really like. I mean, you couldn't even really call them action figures. They were more dolls. They had, army fatigue, dress uniform, pilot, sailor, and it was basically 4 GI Joes, I guess you could say. And even the 70s kind of brought it back out. Almost a riff on the $6 Million Man in the 1970s. There was G.I. Joe, the Atomic Man, which was supposed to be, I guess, tried to sell. Well, but like you said, in the toy line didn't really explode internationally until the 3.5-inch figure in the 1980s. And I'm gonna go ahead and play the commercial of some of those toys that we out with. Hey, too young to see these commercials or don't remember them. Both GQI and Ray Data very vivid. Like a stroll down memory lane.
He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. It's here, the G.I. Joe collection. Infantry troopers. Code name Grunt.
Was that Benjamin Bratt just now?
Motor soldier.
Yeah.
Short fuse. Flash Ranger. Code name Stalker. Communications officer. Code name Breaker. Machine gunner. Code name Rock and Roll. Counterintelligence. Code name Scarlet Commando. Code name Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes, dude. And see, even these little cartoons they play with the toys, that was kind of like what led to what came later was actual cartoons. So you have a lot of G.I. Joes in your collection. So as we're watching these, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about them?
Well, in all honesty, with a lot of the Joe toys, okay, for those that don't know, the original G.I. Joe toys were obviously, 12-inch figures. ton of detail on the figures, ton of detail on their clothes. So that was the real draw to them was, you know, they were larger than life, so to speak, and super detailed. Then obviously you get to the 80s and you're seeing, you know, all the figures are very small, you know, 3.5-inch figures. So what you eventually were starting to realize is the figures were kind of secondary and the vehicles were what they were trying to sell.
Yes, absolutely.
That was essentially the focus was the vehicles, because you notice with GI Joe, yeah, there's a ton of different characters, you know, Grunt, Gung Ho, Destro, Cobra Commander, all the various ones that they had. But what a lot of people really truly remembered and were more, because you notice all of the commercials really kind of focused on the vehicles that they were selling you. They were selling you the Hiss tank. They were selling you the Sergeant Slaughter and his Triple T tank. They were selling you, you know, the Abrams tank that you just saw. The aircraft carrier, 7.5 feet long, still to this day the biggest toy ever made. The hovercraft, they were selling you all of those various things because that was the focus. Once you had the vehicle, it didn't. Each vehicle usually came with a figure anyway, but it didn't necessarily matter whether or not you had a particular character for a vehicle, because again, it's military. Anybody can drive, not every, you know, anybody, but you know what I'm saying. Any of them, you know, should be qualified to jump in the tank and use it. So the focus was just them trying to really get you to buy those vehicles, and then, you know, you'll get some figures along the way, obviously. So
like as we're watching some of these, and you know, as you saw, you know, imagine you know, when we were little kids, we were like what, 4 or 5 years old, and we see these motorized tanks, you know, battery operated motorized tanks, and you could have them roll all over the place. Back in the day, that was an innovative thing.
Without a
everybody
doubt.
wanted that.
Not only that, I was actually going through my stuff recently, as anybody that's been on the Culture Junkies group page has seen. Found some of my old stuff. So I got Destro's The Spoiler.
Nice.
This is actually from Battle Force 2000, from that range of toy. But in all honesty, this funny thing is the price tag is actually from Service Merchandise. Yep, price tag is actually from Service Merchandise, a store that is long since gone. But this was only $6.97. It was on sale. So
no, this one right here was the one that I wanted so bad as a kid.
With the hovercraft?
The hovercraft. Yes, I wanted that hovercraft so bad.
I still have it.
Still, of course you do. Of course you do.
Well, you know, I mean, again, I keep my stuff in good condition, man.
Of course. But dude, I mean, with the depth charges, the fact that it could float in water, oh man, it was everything.
Yeah, they did a great job with the whale. They did an amazing job with that thing. So I mean,
I wanted the Sky Striker as well. I wanted the Sky Striker too. Do you have one?
No, the Sky Striker I never had, but I got the Conquest, the one that had the swept forward wings, which I don't think in anybody's
no way that's gonna work.
Yeah, I don't think that thing would really work in real life. But you know, now you see how big the Sky Striker actually was, though. Yeah. That was the one thing that you had to notice about the GI Joe toys. They were really big.
Very.
Those figures, you know, obviously are not to scale, because I mean, you know, that'd be ridiculous. But you notice like the Night Raven. The Night Raven was huge. The Terradrome was huge. That's the Rattler, of course, that's on the screen now. But that's coming up. The blue jet for Cobra is the Rattler. But the Night Raven, when they came out, that thing was enormous. And then the Terradrome, big. So I mean, you know, they weren't playing around with these toys because they were trying to make sure that, hey, you see this thing, it's a good size, good value. Because again, looking at the price comparison,
there it is.
The USS Flag was $200. Now, granted, in 80s money, that's quite a bit. But if you look back, like something that big, it was 7.5 feet long. It was a huge playset. It was only $200. Like if they brought that out now, there it is. If they brought that out now for $200, it wouldn't even be a thought. It would be, I'm going to buy that right now. Right? It would just be instant.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I see in the chat, Marcus saying he still got a bunch of Joe stuff. He loved it. What's up to Tony Young in the chat? So, yep, shine low. He's 100% right, man. The Cobra Raven was still the truth. That thing was huge. Had a piggyback jet on it. So I mean, this, yeah. Oh, Mike said he had the Sky Striker. I thought he still had it. Okay.
Oh man. I mean, G.I. Joe was without question probably the best toy line, even successful toy line that we've ever seen to this day. Just because the amount of the sheer amount of toys that they had, and as you touched on, every vehicle or everything that they did, they were real play sets, like, and they were massively big. Like
Yep.
they were gonna capture your imagination, guaranteed, probably for an entire day. If you really were that inclined, you invite a couple of your boys over, get your Joes out. Man, it was something to behold. It was
Yeah, and without a doubt, GI Joe. With I'm obviously not going to take up all the time because there's other panelists on the show
right.
that might want to say something about their memories of the GI Joe figures. But yeah, those toy lines back then, and it's almost, I feel almost bad for the kids nowadays because again,
They don't
yes,
have
it's a different
toys.
time, but
Not
the
like
toys
this.
that they have now, they're really. Like I just look at the stuff
Cheap.
that they bring out for they bring out for the DC movies and the Marvel movies. The figures are just stiff, no articulation. It's like, how are you supposed to do anything with this thing, man?
Yeah.
So,
It's because the adults are buying hot toys.
oh, hey,
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's
Ain't nothing wrong
exactly
with that at all.
that's me all day long. But I'm sorry.
Yeah, they ain't worried about the detail with the kids line, man. Like it's all about it's all about the adult nerd culture now.
Oh yeah,
True. That's true.
Absolutely. Now, as you were talking about, other panelists wanting to have kind of their time. Fall of Marvel, you didn't grow up in the 80s. You kind of want to say you totally missed out, but you were part of this era. So as you're seeing these commercials, what do you think?
It does kind of take me back a little bit to the Saturday morning cartoons and the commercials and stuff like that, because I caught a few of those commercials back in the day and stuff with a lot of stuff. So it's not like I'm totally oblivious to GI Joe. Like I understand that GI Joe was like a staple for a long time in the 80s. So it does kind of take me back to the time where Saturday morning type stuff or whatever, especially like when we used to advertise like toy lines and all that or whatever. Like that's essentially what it does. It just kind of takes me back, like being that toddler age child getting up and watching your favorite shows when it comes on. And occasionally I would catch GI Joe, but it's just like it would always got muddled up with like a bunch of other stuff. So it's like I was born kind of like after like that wave like really hit. So it's not something that really stuck with me, but it was definitely something I was aware of. So it's but of course me growing up, I was a Ninja Turtles kid. So but that's another show.
Yeah, and believe me, that will also be shows that made us junkies. That's definitely gonna be on the list. So look forward to that. Coming up. Dido, you didn't really get to talk much about GI Joe and some of your memories. How many Joes did you have? Did you?
Oh, hell yeah. I had a lot of freaking G.I. Joes. I don't remember all of them, of course, because it's been such a long time. I do know I looked up the one that I liked the most, and it was Shockwave, because he had blue camouflage, and I just thought that was I don't know what it was. I really liked the blue camouflage, and one of the things that I got around doing a little bit later is making my own, I don't know if you would say my own Joes, but you would take them apart, the little screw in there, and they had the rubber band, and you put their like new legs on, and you just take other Joes and kind of like take them apart and make new ones or whatnot. It was kind of like doing a custom thing for whatever reason. That was kind of fun for me. But unfortunately, unlike GQ there, I own nothing from my childhood. I don't know where it went. I don't know if mom threw it away. My brother took it, played with it to the part to where they broke. Or
yeah, let's blame it on the brother.
Cousins.
Let's blame it on the brother. No, let's blame it on the
they
brother because that's the best thing to do. Because them damn little brothers always be getting in this shit and always be ruining stuff for you. So little Chris, I know you out there. You may or may not be watching the show. But you took your brother's Joes and
He
probably
probably
broke them.
played the shit out of him
Probably
and
broke 'em.
lost him, broke him, played with
Yep.
him because he was big into toys himself too. I mean, he
Yep.
used to collect all or get tons of different X-Men, whatever. He used to play with a lot of freaking toys. So I know after I probably moved on to video games and I wasn't really playing with the toys anymore. I know he was, but yeah, G.I. Joe. I used to love watching the cartoon, playing with the toys. I didn't have too many vehicles, and I don't know, it never really struck that I needed the vehicles. I wanted the Joes. I actually liked having the actual Joes, and that was my thing, big time. Most of my toys, I didn't have vehicles for them because I liked the action figures, but that part was the cool part.
I want to give a shout out to all the junkies that are tuning into the chat right now on Facebook. Marcus D Boss is following up with some of the other comments in the chat that probably, but I don't think he would ever do this because he want to keep his stuff intact. But he used to be able to take apart the Joes, tops and their bottoms, and be able to mix. People were make their own parts, and some people probably even painted them, make up their. That just speaks to how incredibly popular the toy line was back in the day. And of course, as time went on, the decades went on, the toy line became more popular. Got to start to be very gimmicky. I remember probably, would you say the first gimmicky show that they had was of the champion Chicago Bears in 19 Rich.
No, I wouldn't say that was the first gimmicky one. I mean, they started gimmicky when you had the sailor, and then you had the whatever his name was. He was like the fire.
I guess I mean by gimmicky is like they were completely outside the realm of the military and the Joes. They were kind of picking up like a popular, pop culture figure, and they were making them.
How many did they do that? Sergeant Slaughter was a wrestler first, and they made him a Joe. And then you had the, Refrigerator Perry, like you said. I don't remember too many real people or characters or whatever becoming Joes. It's just more so like you had a Joe that was a basketball player, and he played basketball, and then
Big Lob, my dude.
The thing on that, sorry about the sudden dropout. The thing on that though, you had in the official G.I. Joe encyclopedia, they had 4 issue in Marvel Comics. Rocky was officially a Joe. He was supposed to be one of their hand-to-hand fight coordinators, and you also had, like you said, Refrigerator Perry. So, yeah, those were the the supposed real people that were thrown in as members of the Joes unofficially. Yep.
But to even go beyond that, in the 90s, they came up with Street Fighter Joe figures. Those.
Yeah, I remember that.
I have E Honda.
I had the actually. Me and my brother had probably darn near everyone. So I wanted E Honda because he was weird, because he was fat, and that was one of the reasons why I really wanted him. Just because he was in like a normal G.I. Joe. Everybody else had the same body, but he didn't. Even Sagat had the same body as everybody else, but he was fat. So I really wanted him. Gosh, I remember having him, Ken. I think I had Blanca and Dawson, Sagat, Chung-Li, Ken. Gosh, I wish I had all those things back. I even had dollar store G.I. Joes. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah. Cheap ones.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, the E Honda was probably my favorite one just because he was fat.
So, let's see. So obviously the toy commercials were played with, some of these really cool cartoon intros. And those commercials with the cartoon intros became so popular that they went ahead and they played around a couple of G.I. Joe miniseries cartoons that dates original Real American Hero cartoon show. So first one came out in based on the first one was about the mass device. So what do we remember about when those first miniseries, especially the mass device? Those ones were, to me, I always liked those even better than I like the syndicated show. The miniseries felt like a grand event. So what do you guys remember about Dido and Joe mini?
Well, I wouldn't have known they were miniseries back then. I was just watching a goddamn cartoon, man. You know how many freaking cartoons I watched? I didn't know what the hell they were. I was just sitting back and watching them. So,
well, since Dido brought it up, this is the
there he is.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the one I liked because he was fat. I don't know why.
He's just different.
Yeah,
very different. So, yeah, as you guys know, I've been cleaning, going through all the archives of stuff. So, Yonda was out there.
So the original miniseries were 5-episode miniseries, with basically a matter transporter. Joe's and Cobra racing all over the world to gather the materials, catalytic elements, in order to control the power of the mass device. Obviously, Cobra had their use energy source to base.
Wrong.
Wrong. That was it.
The BET was the free energy source.
Oh, the BET was. Okay.
Yes, the mass device. Here's the thing. If Cobra had just used all of their resources to patent some shit, they would have been so rich they could have bought the world.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they came up with was ridiculous. The mass device is one of them. It's a matter of transport. You literally are transporting not only stuff, but people. They could transport people. They did it because they transported some Cobras right into a base. So it's like,
sure did.
It's like you have the know-how and the tech to come up with this stuff. Just buy the world, because I'm pretty sure you can find a couple of companies that would love to have that technology. So, man, Cobra should, again, it's crazy. It's crazy. All I can say is, it's like, dude, how much money do y'all have? Building bases all over the place? Just, I don't get it, man. Like, why did they could have just bought the world, man?
They were just a distraction. They were going out there to distract the G.I. Joe so the political assholes could actually take over the world, and they were Joes themselves. The Cobra.
Hey, when I found out that government health insurance was called Cobra, I was like,
yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Hell no.
What? I'm just sitting back like, okay. So now we know where they get all their money from. I'm like, okay. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Who remembers Globulus though?
Oh, I remember that one. I had that one too.
Yeah.
He had that weird ass tail.
He was part of a triple pack though. It came with him, one of the Cobra Last soldiers, and then of course Nemesis Enforcer.
Wow.
Definitely, we're gonna get into all of those. So the next one. Cartoons. So all of those cartoons, obviously, two miniseries, which Mass Device, the other Dominator.
Oh yeah.
And then to original series that lasted for. Obviously, what most people will remember most about, back in the 80s, you have to understand. If you were ever going to put anything on TV back in the day, basically saying this for the edification of our fallen Marvel over here, but if you were going to put anything on TV, it was mandated by the government that you had to have public service announcements, morality, and other safety, in order for basically green light being able to violent programming. Because believe me, there was another show that I would love to talk about, like Jim and the Holograms. Some of the stuff that happened in Jim and the Holograms, downright, some of the people in there were psychopaths. And, like, they were literally trying to kill, and they weren't even trying to hide. They weren't even trying to hide how they were trying to kill. But I digress. That's neither here.
Mm-hmm.
But the legend of GI Joe and the original has everything to do the public service announcement. Like, here.
My nose is bleeding. Put your head back.
That's the wrong play.
Footloose.
Pinch your nose.
I mean,
closed
the
and
Joes just walking around the
after
street
5 minutes, we'll pack your
teaching
nose
morality
and
plays
pinch your
everywhere
nose
they
for 5
go.
minutes.
Something else.
Still bleeding, then see a doctor.
The bleeding stopped. Now we know how to stop a nosebleed.
And knowing is half the battle.
And knowing that is half the battle is probably the most remembered line in the 80s cartoon history. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't
Still use it to this day.
Still use it to this day?
Yeah, and knowing is half the battle.
My
I don't
man.
always say G.I. Joe at the end, but like if you don't know something and then you know it, because knowing is half the battle.
Oh, here comes Chris's favorite guy.
Never lift the head of a person who's fainted.
Airtight.
Raise his leg.
T-
Now use your clothes
I tell you what, my thing is when they start making the parody ones on YouTube. I don't know who the hell was doing it, but oh my gosh, it had me dying laughing. It was so freaking hilarious, especially the reggae one. I forget the doctor's name, the black guy with the glasses, and he just showed up in the window and just started, singing reggae, and then the kids start singing reggae with him. That right there is comedy, because this is right here is serious.
Yeah, the black guy with the glasses, his name was Doc.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was his Doc. The other doctor was Lifeline. For some weird reason, they both wore green glasses.
Yeah.
Because doctors wear green glasses.
I guess so. Wow. Hold on. You got knocked into the water, but you did a perfect dive on the way in.
Right.
Oh, this is not the one where he falls off the cliff and they teach him how to tread water. So you got to kick your feet like a scissors and tread water.
So wait, what about
That was
the stranger danger? And then Roblox is just walking down the street, damn near a stranger himself, probably. That's just ridiculous, dude.
Well, no, it's Roadblock. He's not a stranger. Everyone knows who Roadblock is.
Here's my other problem with all of the PSAs. The GI Joes are a daring, highly trained special mission force. Why do all of these random kids on the street know all their code names and know who they are?
Exactly.
Exactly. And again, it's a cartoon. I get it, but that even back as a kid, that always bugged me. It's like y'all are supposed to be a secret troop of soldiers, man. Why do all these people know you?
And technically, the kids are supposed to be us.
I guess so, man.
If you really think about it, PSAs especially in this, they've used this same format for many other shows that I've grown up with. So it's like when you really think about it in hindsight, like looking at it doesn't make sense, but it's because the message is like specifically for us watching. It's supposed to be like they're talking to us.
I guess so. Here's the thing, though. I got a whole box of G.I. Joe figures right next to me. So we're going to have a trivia contest. Well, not contest. We're just going to have a trivia thing at the end of the show. So
nice.
Just keep that in mind.
Okay. All right. I'd be remiss if I didn't. LGZ is actually watching John. There's one thing that Dido made. PSAs were so legendary. That's what stayed with a lot of people decades after it ended, that came out with parodies. So
You're not cooking. Yeah, dude.
Pork chop sandwiches. Oh shit!
Pork chop sandwiches.
Get the fuck out of here! What are you doing? Go! Get the fuck out of here, you stupid idiot! Fuck, we're all dead! Get the fuck out! My God, did that smell good?
Detect it. There's no going, and you tell me do things. I done running.
Oh man. Yeah. So there was that one. There's the reggae
So
one.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they're just so crazy. Obviously the original series, special place, but who? I do the original series. Obviously, a lot of people. Your favorite Joes? Original.
Ooh, 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 ooh. That's a big time toughie for me, man, because like the originals, the ones that showed up all the time was goddamn Snake Eyes Duke, Storm Shadow, which I really liked him for whatever reason. Like,
Storm Shadow was cool because he was a ninja, but he was wearing white. He was all white. It was like, wait a minute, you're a ninja and you're wearing all white? That is dope.
Yeah, it's like if you see me, you're dead. Doesn't matter if you see me. Gosh, what is his name? Oh, like Roblox, of course. I always like how he talked in rhymes.
What was it? What is it with? It was him. It was Roblox and Jazz. What is it? Was this something? Some stereotype out there that said every black or black related character had to speak rhymes, like some kind of rap deal. I mean, what was that?
I wish I could tell you, but stereotypes come from somewhere.
I mean, it was the 80s. Hip hop was becoming very popular around that time. And that's what they felt always related to us. Like the black person had to either be rhyming or really into sports. So that's yeah. Like that's how they looked at us. So there you go.
For me, one of my favorite. Loved Quick Kick. I loved Flint was my dude. I loved Flint. Also really liked I didn't really like I found Shipwreck to be annoying. What about you guys?
That dumb parrot.
Yeah, Shipwreck and his parrot. Yeah, I couldn't stand Shipwreck for some. I don't know why. I couldn't stand Shipwreck. But obviously, two of my favorite Cobras. I had three favorite Cobras. Twins, Tomax and Zaymot.
Yeah,
love them. I used to love Destro. Destro was the dude. Destro used to break out the thesaurus on you. Used to have to make you go read a thesaurus to understand what this said, because he was insulting Cobra Commander with high level English. This wasn't like this wasn't like children's humor or anything, or basically talking down or using simple language. No, it was calling him an ignoramus before all this other kind of stuff that made you have to go and read, okay, what in the world did he just say? And this was like when we were like 6 years old, which was honestly I kind of appreciate honestly. So honestly, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat say Tony Young's talking about Spirit. I used to love Spirit. Shinlo said Hawk.
Yeah, like Zartan.
Hawk, obviously. The Zartan toy was cool. Because it was the one that you put it in the put it in sunlight.
Sun,
put it in the sun, it would change color. Yeah.
Almost like he was allergic to the sun.
Yeah. Nobody really liked Cobra Commander.
Oh, I like Cobra Commander's voice, but like he was just so dumb. And like I was talking to GQ, and I think I was talking to you guys. I don't remember who I was talking to exactly, but for whatever gosh darn reason, I felt sorry for him in the G.I. Joe the movie. A lot of people was like, I didn't. I was just like, I don't know why I did, but I did. I just felt sorry for him and turned into that snake, and then he was gone. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks.
It did. GQ's having some trouble. Was dropped out a couple of times. Talk about obviously guys on Chicago. Lady J, out of all the ladies, you see that was the other thing about G.I. Joe. You know, the women in the show were incredibly capable. Whether it be Scarlet, whether it be Lady J. Lady J was tough as like her. I liked her more than I like Scarlet. Lady J, Scarlet, CoverGirl was almost a stereotype because it was like she was supposed to be pretty attractive, but she didn't do anything. Like her thing was had the code name CoverGirl. Like okay, on
I distract people.
I suppose. I suppose, but obviously couldn't mention we couldn't mention ladies in the show without mentioning Baroness. The Baroness Cobra became as much of a, and I hate using Baroness became
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
yes.
Because everything about the Baroness was about her being fatale, being beautiful, attracting, master of disguise, an absolute master of disguise, blend in anywhere, and get any dude to do whatever she. And that was her thing. The Baroness, that was her thing. Yeah. So speak about some of the other ladies.
Oh, what's the one that was getting Jinx? She's a little annoying.
Yeah, Jinx in the Joe the movie.
Yeah. Oh, we're still working our way for there, but she's one of the ladies, but she was a little bit annoying. I don't remember too many of them outside of ones you mentioned already.
I'll have to look up. But you know, you've been hearing a lot of the Fallen Marvel. Kind of like your take on.
From the little bit I have watched, I mean, it definitely kind of left its mark in a lot of ways you guys just mentioned. I mean, it had, you know, I mean, it was still like the time, the big burly American hero guys, for the boys. Then, at least introducing like some strong female characters also on the squad, like you said, because a lot of uh, the women, like either on the Cobra side or the Joe's side, they were capable. Like they weren't just there, with the exception of CoverGirl, but it definitely was leaving a staple in more ways than one, and that's all I can really input on as far as the original cartoons.
So, one of the best things about G.I. Joe original series was that actually companion comic book by Marvel running at the same time, and those Marvel comic books much more obviously, but Marvel Productions also conjunction with Jumbo were the ones that were animating. So and at the same time, both Marvel Productions, G.I. Joe, and the Transformers kind of had symmetry. Not only you voice actors, productions, but so you'd always same musical. Well, so it kind of led you to that they part of the same. But yeah, the comic was absolutely. But the second season, a 30 episode, started in 1996. Characters Mindbender. Mindbender, right to Cobra Mentor, four episode miniseries called Arise Serpent Rise. It's supposed to signal big turning point struggle between Cobra to across the globe at the time. Even better than that, Mentor was introduced. They actually led that right in. That was like a precursor. Yeah, Joe the heretofore hidden society of Ah that was kind of behind the Cobra itself. And there was a dream sequence. You saw GI Joe the cartoon movie or real movie? Palomar. When did you see?
It was the animated movie. I saw it last week,
Yeah. So
and yeah.
okay. So yeah, in that obviously mystics of Cobra La and
Hmm.
theme of Doctor Non, and that's what I hated because back to Cobra La and Rise of Cobra La. Kind of
Hmm.
what be tragic uh thing that happened to Cobra Commander that talking about.
Yeah, that I think the only thing that threw me off about that whole thing was, okay, these people are supposed to be snake-like, but like all the other stuff they was using were like look more like insects and
Yeah, I
stuff.
know, right?
Like, that was kind of weird to me. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to
Like
be
the
like
spider
reptilian?
silk thing, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like this doesn't look very reptile-like, but yeah, like the that was actually kind of tragic with Cobra Commander though. That was actually kind of like I almost felt sorry for him, which was a little which was kind of ironic, but uh overall, like I thought the movie was definitely entertaining for what it was though. Like I'm not gonna lie, I actually laughed pretty hard. It was like two moments I laughed really hard. I keep forgetting the what was the big guy with the wings name?
Nemesis Enforcer. How dare
Yeah,
you
there you
forget his
go.
name?
It was my first time watching in the movie. Okay, give me a
Okay,
break. Anyway, it was like it was the moment when uh he had first shown up and literally just backhanded Cobra Commander. That shit was hilarious.
yeah,
And the second part was obviously when Sergeant Slaughter got the best of Nemesis Enforcer, like toward the third act, and it was just like, oh my god, this dude, like Sergeant Slaughter just went all in, dude. Like he was just like,
yeah.
wow. Like Nemesis Enforcer had no chance against that man for some odd reason, but okay. That man start talking about the U.S. of A. It's a wrap.
And honestly, the whole thing with Sergeant Slaughter being Joe of kind of a gimmicky bias type promotion because at the time Sergeant Slaughter was a fairly popular AW wrestler. Um, he wasn't anywhere near as large as Hogan at the time, Savage, but because Sergeant Slaughter, honestly, the first time I ever even heard of him was when he was in GI. And honestly,
Mm.
after when after GI Joe the movie was over, I became a fan of Sergeant Slaughter because honestly, his voice was perfect for that movie. His voice was perfect
Mhm.
for that movie. Like everything about Sergeant Slaughter and the Roughnecks was just great. I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree to that. I really think he definitely fit into the series like a glove. Like he did. And it's funny that you say that because um with him not being as big as a Hogan or Randy Savage, it's like it does make me wonder. Like, I wonder what made them go with Slaughter versus Hogan. Since it's like I kind of get it, but like Hogan was like the guy, like during that time. The I'm a real American, all that, and it does make me wonder. But I think it worked out for what it needed to do in the end.
I think part of it, I think a lot of it had to do because Sergeant Slaughter's whole shtick was that he was a drill sergeant.
Oh yeah,
that was the whole shtick, and it was very convenient to have that tie in with having kind of a loose cannon, like
it was like Duke's stepbrother, right, or half brother.
Duke's little brother, Falcon. Duke's little brother Falcon, was kind of such a loose cannon that they needed someone to whip him. I mean,
I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do. It's like,
right?
Be like in military type thing. You're supposed to do what people tell you to do, so other people don't get killed.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he was. Yeah. He was just trying to be all about that action. That's all.
Right. So when they shipped him off to the slaughterhouse, I thought the whole arc, that whole part of the movie, probably my favorite, outside of Beachhead and the new recruits, Jinx, Big Lob, Chuckles,
Big Live. Oh my god,
Big Lob was great, dude. Don't even front. Big Lob was great. I can't say nothing. I'm not even gonna say nothing, honestly. Like the part, I'm sorry, the part when he was in the plane and it was going down. Yeah.
And he was like going play by play. I'm like, yes! Oh my god, are you
yes.
Dude, I'm sorry. Like that I was so done when I saw it. I'm like, wow.
Big Lob was great.
Hey, look, y'all grew up with him. I didn't. I'm just saying. Man. Like this is my initial reaction of him. Okay.
Hey, yo, man, you can't tell me Chuckles. Like even in the end of the movie, Chuckles just hot starting the copter, spins the blades with his bare hands so it starts, so it gets a jump start, and he just holds on the top. These spinning blades obviously are spinning. Probably should turn him into sushi. But he's just hanging on. Big deal. Hang on, Chuckles. Hang on. Yeah. It just.
Whew. Yeah.
What was some of the other best parts of G.I. Joe the movie? So I mean, did you like the movie? Comparing that to Transformers the movie, because both of them, were supposed to kind of come out at the same time, but. Mm-hmm. The poor reception box office in Transformers pushed G.I. Joe the movie. It was supposed to come out in the theater too.
Okay.
So, but
I could probably imagine why, but because like the one moment where like they had like the one swear word in it, which I thought was kind of weird. Yeah, whatever. But whatever, we know how sensitive parents were in the 80s and stuff or whatever. But looking back on them in hindsight, I kind of look at them like time capsule pieces. When I watch like stuff that I've never seen before, and I go back and look at it, it's like even Masters. I think like after watching that, it actually made me want to watch like Masters of the Universe in its entirety, and I kind of look at that movie the same way. It's like these movies are essentially time capsules of their time, like just they're time capsule movies is what they are, and it's like then. It's just looking back on them, it's just like, wow, like I'm pretty sure that was quite a fun time, because I mean there's been plenty of times where I wish I was born a little bit earlier in the 80s so I can like I can really remember a lot of what people enjoy. But I mean, look, I got the late 80s. It's not a total loss, but that's kind of like one of those things that make me wish that I was born just a little bit earlier. But I did like the movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was entertaining. Same thing with Transformers the movie. I did like it. And it's they're just classics in their own right, man. Like I'm not gonna. I've never knocked on either one of them, but
Right.
it's like look, I enjoy my '80s cheese when I get it. So it's just
Right. So I mean, so are we crazy? Are we crazy to think that are we crazy to hold on to our nostalgia for both trends
Of
based
course
on
not.
and I'm just saying this based on kind of as we've never seen anything like GI Joe as a toy line, as a franchise, as a
Mhm.
brand for children really since then. Yes,
Mhm.
we've had Pokemon, and I guess maybe in a way you could say Pokemon like that, but Pokemon or Sun game more than it is.
I
Um,
mean, the thing is, what I will say about Pokemon is the popularity did start from the video games, but it pretty much just took off like when the card started like getting into circulation. So it's just one of those things where it was just a multi-medium thing that just blew up and essentially is still going strong even today. So, but when in terms of what you ask, it's you latch on what you grow up with. And for me personally, I still latch on to just about everything I've grown up with. And I hold those things dear because those are remnants of simpler times. It's just when you had the glee of
child,
just
wide-eyed, imagination
wide-eyed
running
imagination running
wild.
wild. It's
Yeah,
just, dude, like it was the perfect time to be alive during those formative years. That's it really is because it's and honestly, when it comes down to with us reminiscing on the show, I mean, essentially this is what the whole theme of us as culture junkies being about. It's like
absolutely.
it's not letting go of what made our childhood special, because that is what shapes us today. It's like, hey, we want to hold on to those feelings because it's like, hey, like that's one of the things that makes life that much better.
Right.
So it's like, please, like if you latch on to something, you latch onto it point blank. Like please.
Just
Do
just
you
don't
know what
latch
I
on.
say?
Go
What I
ahead.
say is always, it doesn't matter how many times you've gone around the sun. Why would you stop liking something that you once liked at one time? Because like, there's a lot of people that you go around the sun enough times. Oh my god, I can't like this stuff anymore. It's like, you know
Yeah,
what?
this is for children. It's for children. I must put it
Be an
away.
80-year-old man like my shit.
Right.
Like, yeah, you guys can. Oh, I can't like, man. Screw that crap.
It's like y'all can be miserable for all I care.
Right.
It's like I'm still gonna enjoy what I enjoy.
Right.
Goddamn
Yeah, something that you want to get up, you want to see certain things. Maybe I didn't see them, or maybe I have seen them before, and I want to watch them again, or want to play a video game or something. That's just how I look at it. So yeah, screw all that stuff. Just be
Hand
in.
of
You know,
Hand of Omega says I would have said that Power Rangers at least maybe not in the
Mm,
not
not
in
in
the
the not in the
definitely not in
toys. Not definitely not in the toys,
there
but I
the
are.
think I
I don't.
think I think I think like more it was more so of the live action aspect of it, which made it that much more respectable, because up to that point we just saw this stuff in animated form. We didn't really see this stuff like in live action form like that. I think like what other than what maybe Ultraman, if that when that was kind of syndicated over here, but like it didn't have that appeal like that. So obviously when they did Power Rangers, with a diverse group of kids who become heroes, and the bright colors, giant robots, all that stuff, and and dope ass music on top of it. It's just it just had the right formula, and I just think that as far as popularity goes, I will agree, just not, or probably not so much with action figures. Not, but like I mean, obviously most of it.
I'm going to tell you something. I am friends with a guy who is basically a plastic junkie. His thing is to like if you were to compare my video game collection to the toys that he has, it would dwarf it. He sells toys, he buys toys. I'm part of his group. Almost every day he's buying something and trying to sell stuff. And Power Rangers is big when it comes to the toys. These guys look for Power Rangers. They got,
now
I think when it came to the toys, I didn't collect Power Rangers, but like you had a little bit of Voltron where you get, you get your all of them combined and you get a freaking robot, and you had the action figures. I think they were pretty big, but I can't really comment it on the way as if I grew up through it, because by the time the 90s were around, I wasn't playing with action figures anymore. It was video games and playing basketball outside. That's literally what I was doing almost all the time. So I watched the hell out of Power Rangers, and I stopped when it became Turbo. I think is like when I stopped watching it. It stopped.
Yeah, same here.
But just seeing the toy collection and the people showing off their Power Ranger stuff, like they just came out with, and I didn't even know it existed. Now, if you remember, trying not to get too much off topic, that when the Green Ranger came, he had that dragon shield, right? And then you saw it one time, he put the dragon shield on the Red Ranger. Well, this is a toy where the Black Ranger had the dragon shield. And I'm like, did that happen? Is that
it happened in the show once.
Oh, like I don't remember.
It was an episode he gave Zach the dragon shield. And I will say, as a fan, that was a very proud moment for me, because obviously Zach was one of my favorites, and then of course Tommy came along, became my favorite. But the moment he gave him that dragon shield,
hip hop keto,
it's like he gave the brother the dragon shield. Come on, like he gave my boy a chance to a time to shine. It was like it was nothing better than that. But I ain't gonna get too much in there. But like I said, that's another show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. About the Power Rangers eventually. But yeah, as for G.I. Joe, comparing it to, I mean, like I said, I can't really comment on the 90s toys because I wasn't there, and I can't say it wasn't as big. There was so many G.I. Joes that you could probably say the only thing that matched popularity, even though this also came out in the 80s, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You had 4 fucking turtles, but they had so many different outfits. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's like Batman. It was like the Batman toys in the 90s. When the animated series came out, like it was literally you can't even call it 31 flavors of Batman, because he had so many outfits for every single freaking occasion, dude. Every single occasion.
Yeah.
I thought, even as a kid, I was growing up, and I was looking at all these toys. I was like, this is ridiculous. Batman would have all these outfits for every single occasion. Now, the one toy in the 90s that I thought would have that was Iron Man, and when they had all those different Iron Man toys back in the 90s, and I was like, okay, this one makes sense, because Tony would make a whole bunch of armors for a bunch of different situations. I got it. That part was fine. Anyway, I digress. So the next part of talk about is G.I. Joe the follow-up series. Well, we already kind of talked about the movie, but after G.I. Joe the movie was over, Marvel Productions and Sunbow lost the license. Also sent also took Captain Planet after its initial versus the while it seemed to me like after G.I. Joe the movie, G.I. Joe kind of cartoon back to the heights of popularity. Felt like there were cartoons out there. They changed. got to get tough, yo.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
to get tough.
Tough. Yo,
Yo,
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, I was like, man, like,
But,
what is this? This sounds terrible.
but I think that was late '80s, early '90s, if I remember correctly. Though it might have been considered season like 4 or something like that.
Yeah, I
don't really remember.
I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but someone did mention in the chat earlier about it was the 1995 iteration of them. It was G.I. Joe Extreme.
Yeah, couldn't watch that either.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah,
that follows along with kind of what we're talking about right now. Talking about that one, talking about there was Sergeant Savage, Joe Extreme, Pilot would talk. No, and honestly, it just wasn't that good. But here's a little fun fact for you. So after Marvel actually had a season written out before they lost the license, I'm gonna directly follow up after G.I. Joe where Cobra Command then mute wouldn't have been like Cobra would have been kind of destroyed in this criminal order called the Coil was supposed to come, and the Coil was made Cobra Elite would have been the new faction that off again. While Cobra mutated Cobra Command trying to build Cobra at the production of kind of was going shifting a Coil and the Joes, kind of like playing double A. Other he was in whatever. I thought that would have been. I thought that would have been. Yeah. So after that one was after all of those original ended. By that time, Saturday morning. Remember, there was a really great G.I. Joe.
Oh my gosh, that one was
G.I.
straight up.
Joe.
It was
that one I did watch a bit.
Yeah,
I
G.I.
thought
Joe
that one was kind of
Renegades.
cool.
yeah.
G.I. Joe Renegades.
I watched that, and that one was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I have to confess, I missed.
Uh-uh.
I remember you guys were always talking about it and how awesome it was, but I could never catch it on Cartoon Network.
No.
So I ended up missing out on it. Much like I missed out. I saw the early episodes of the Masters of the Universe reboot on Cartoon Network, and I thought that one was got to catch all of the episodes working or stuff. So I missed out on those. But you remember G.I. Joe Renegade good, and actually think about it. I think films kind of use a lot of G.I.
Probably the designs definitely were similar.
Yeah, I think the premise of G.I. Joe Renegades was that Cobra had secretly taken control of the country, world, branded the Joes as traitors, and made them justice or renegades, ostracized, trying to protect, and it kind of drove them under. Came
Enemies of the state.
Yeah, enemies of the state, and they started basically covert operations without any government. I thought I thought it was absolutely I thought it was absolutely fantastic premise. Why in the hell did what happened? Like the movies just couldn't the movies just couldn't 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 match up. I
Well,
don't know what happened.
weren't those movies made by Universal?
Paramount.
If I recall, Paramount. Okay, it was Paramount.
Paramount.
Uh, when did that movie come out? Like in '09?
The original one with Channing Tatum and
Yeah.
Marlon Wayans.
Look, I wasn't against Marlon being in it, but I mean, like I said, I didn't hate the movie. I didn't think it was terrible. The only thing I really didn't like about it was how they set up Cobra Commander. That's the only thing about that movie I didn't like.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
But it's like everything else, like kind of had something going for it, but that whole plot and then the whole thing with Baroness and Duke, and it was just like, like that wound up bringing the quality of the movie down.
The original G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra came.
Yeah, I thought that was '09. Yeah, that was kind of like knee deep in like Transformers hype, I believe. So
I believe that's exactly where it was coming from.
Yeah, so like that was definitely during like Transformers hype. So I mean, yeah, I think they were kind of just more or less just trying to just go for whatever was popular or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow was dope at least. So,
do we dare talk about the?
Oh gosh.
I actually forgot about that.
And let me.
I
saw that the. Bullshit. Like, what is this bullshit? What is this?
He's in Wu-Tang, man.
I don't care that he's in Wu-Tang. He had no business being there. I don't care that he was in Wu-Tang. I don't care he was in Wu-Tang clan. A black blind man wearing dreads ascended to the height of Ashikage clan. A clandestine Japanese ninja clan is led by a blind, dreaded black man.
I mean, well, Snake Eyes is a white guy, a white kid. So I mean, maybe it's not too big of a stretch of the imagination.
Look, man, there's a few things, and I hate playing stereo. Shouldn't be doing, but look, man, I can understand because Japanese people favor.
Yeah.
They don't look very favorably.
They don't.
But I'm just saying. But so it was kind of weird. That just kind of made me check out right there.
That's understandable. It's like I said, for me personally, I forgot about that. So I
was
yeah, that's all the comment I got for that. I mean, like I said, at least Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes as characters was actually pretty dope. So everything else around it, I mean, you could kind of take it or leave it, but at least they got those characters right. I mean, those are pretty much they instantly were like my favorites, like in G.I. Joe anyway. So it's
Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, to me, those were the only. Well, outside of actually, the second movie was a lot better. I'll give him that. Second movie was a lot better and made me just wonder why in the hell what happened in the first movie so wrong. Second one, a casual by proxy. That's how bad it was. It was casualty by proxy.
See, because I think they were focusing too much on the spectacle, and it was a combination of them focusing on the spectacle and really trying to push the sex appeal of Channing Tatum. Because again, you had that whole thing with Cobra Commander, Baroness, and Duke. Baroness and Cobra Commander apparently were siblings. Duke and Baroness were supposed to be getting married, and then blah 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 blah, and some other mess happens, and it's all it is just it was just trying to really push the sex appeal of Channing Tatum as a strong romantic guy, even though that's not who Duke is, but that kind of had a lot to do with it, because I guarantee, like, if they at least changed the origin and not used any of that triangle stuff between those three or whatever, like, it probably would have ended up being a better movie. Like,
Yeah,
to me, like, if they had changed that, the movie would have been better, because everything else was lining up for it to be a decent action flick. But because they kind of had to water the movie down with that part of it, it's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, the cast of the second GI Joe movie far better. Rock being Jay Cortona, Clint, yeah, Jay, Elodie Young, who we all know, Electra, Daredevil TV, Jinx, Bruce Willis as the original GI Joe, Joe Colton. I thought that was a pretty solid starting cast. Jung Hyun Lee is coming back as Storm Shadow. I thought was absolute spot on. And getting what I think Robert Baker was the original voice. Oh no. So you had Cobra Commander with the metal face. I thought that part was pretty dope. Having Cobra have this plot where they've got control of the White House and stuff like that, pretty much out of the Joe resident. Great, but future of GI Joe was kind of pretty dead in the water after a lot of people not trying to hear about another.
Yeah, I mean, the sequel wound up just being the casualty as the original, and it's just, I mean, I'm trying to say, did I see? No, I didn't. I saw it when it came out later on. I didn't even bother to go to the movies to see it, even with The Rock being in it. I didn't bother to go see it. So,
you didn't even bother going to see the second one?
No,
that's how bad it was for you.
Like, it's not that I thought it was bad. It just didn't interest me enough to go see it, because it was just kind of like, I don't know. It was like the first one really didn't leave that big enough impression on me. It was like, yeah, I gotta go see the sequel, So it's just like when the sequel came out, I was kind of just, yeah, okay, And I don't even remember what else came out that year with it, but it was enough for me to pass.
What, in 2013? I mean, it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter.
It came, I mean, not really, but it's just, I'm actually curious to know what was out during that time.
Yeah, I guess it is. But all I know is that did not look bright. Obviously, G.I. Joe in the comics has kind of still continued and been a thing. IDW Comics kind of kept it afloat. I know Devil's Due Publishing had the license for a while. kick-ass J. Scott Campbell covers back in the day. Those, but there's some steam being built up to revitalize the brand and back because just today, I blanking on his name, but young man who the young man who starred opposite Constance Crazy Rich Asians has been cast as Snake Eyes in a solo spin-off Snake Eyes film. Now, how are we going to reconcile the fact that in one G.I. Joe movie, Snake Eyes was a white boy. Now you're going to make Snake Eyes an Asian guy, which always been anyway, but neither here nor there. I'm just saying. What do you think of the news that another G.I. Joe movie being made? What about you, Doc?
Personally, I don't think they should make G.I. Joe just one Joe focused movie because that was not what it was about. But, it could turn out to be, pretty good if done the right way. I don't really care about the guy's background because everybody's going to screw it up here and there, left or right. One day it's not going to be like anything we grew up with. It's not going to be like, Sigma 6. It's not going to be like G.I. Joe Resolute. It's not going to be like any of them. So it's going to be its own thing. And either the movie's going to be good or it's not going to be good. And we just have to go from there. But I personally would rather them do it like a team and try to get the feel of the 80s. I don't know why people don't try, like, in the 90s, I could have sworn they were making movies that were supposedly set in the 70s and trying to get that look. Remember, I don't know if they came out in the 90s or the 2000s, but like Starsky and Hutch or just crap like that.
Wait a minute. The remake of Starsky and Hutch?
I mean, I didn't watch the whole movie. I saw the trailers, but it's supposed to take place in the 60s and or 70s, Huggy Bear, all that other stuff. Regardless, I'm just saying, it's a bad example. But I'm saying, like, we don't really see movies. And the 80s has been 30 years away since 1989. Next year, the 80s is going to be, everybody in the 80s is going to be 30 years old by the end of this year. So in their 30s, mind you. Why haven't they tried to make movies besides, and this isn't a movie, it's a TV show with the Stranger Things, but movies that feel like the 80s? I would try to make a G.I. Joe movie that is set in the 80s. And I don't know, maybe that's just a nostalgia talk and trying to have a feel of like those old movies like Rambo or anything that Arnold Schwarzenegger did that was action oriented and have G.I. Joe in it, but it's not focused squarely on one character. It's G.I. Joe versus Cobra. That's something I think would be kind of cool, but I'm not directing it, so more than likely I'm never going to see something like that. But even with that saying, it's not going to be like what we remember it. We just have to take it and see if it's good. And if it's Snake Eyes, it's probably going to be action ninja based. And he doesn't talk though. So either there's going to be a prequel on how either he, if I remember correctly, it was a vow of silence. The reason why he stopped talking. I don't think anything was physically wrong with him. He just, there's a vow of silence. Are we going to see him getting up to that point? Because though Snake Eyes is a cool-ass character, he was cool because he was a supporting character. He wasn't the main character because he did not talk. We're going to have a movie where the guy doesn't talk? I don't know what the hell they're supposed to do. Huh?
Oh, right.
Yeah, he always had that mystery about him.
Yeah. I don't think that part is going to go over very well.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something. So this is going to be, they're going to have to like work up to that. So, whatever. And, I did look up when it came out. It came out in March of 2013. And looking at the string of movies that came out before it, apparently I opted for Oz and the Great and Powerful with my girlfriend that year.
Oh,
and
Oz, the Great and Powerful? That was a terrible movie too.
Wasn't great, but I didn't hate it. So, but
Fair.
it's like I think up to that point, because that was like the same year Iron Man 3 came out. So I guess that was like the only thing I was really waiting for that year. So yeah, that just yeah. Well, I mean, The Rock had Fast and Furious 6 later that year, so
Right. Well, look, I mean, that was one of the times when they were basically trying to let The Rock have his little Midas touch, kind of resurrecting. I mean, hell, it worked for Fast and the Furious. Why can't it work for GI Joe? Right. Right.
I mean, yeah, but it's just I mean,
Hand of Omega saying, that Terry Crews should have been dead. Honestly, I could see that, but he was already going to be in Expendables, so he couldn't really double dip in both.
I mean, it had a moderate take at the box office, but I mean, it's not like it completely flopped or anything. But I mean, I guess like in hindsight, he did make them a little bit more money with that one. So
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, he actually did make him a little bit more money with that one. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, it didn't become like a smash hit or anything. Like it was a modest take or whatever.
Yeah,
so like,
I know they were looking for it to be. Hasbro Films was looking for it to be blockbuster, but it never got to be what they thought it could have been.
Yeah, they were trying to get those Transformers numbers. And that's in hindsight, that's what they were shooting for.
Well, and I can understand them wanting to do that, but had that first movie not failed so bad, they might have had a chance. Honestly, they might have really had a chance had that first movie not failed so bad. But because the movie was so bad, I mean, it was almost the second movie. Like I said, was a casualty by proxy, just by being associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, and no matter who they tried to throw in there, whether Bruce Willis, Rock, whether it be Ray Park, aka Darth Maul himself, nothing was going to save this movie. Nothing was going to make this cool enough to make people want. At the time, of course, a lot of dudes couldn't stand Channing Tatum because a lot of women loved him. I'm just saying, So.
And once again, when that movie came out and like it was, I guess like it leaked or whatever that Duke was gonna die in the second movie. People were like there were fans that were petitioning the movie to keep him in it longer.
He should have been in it longer. They never should have killed. They shouldn't have killed. They shouldn't have. No, they shouldn't have killed.
They shouldn't have, but at the same time, like I think the reason why they were doing that, because I guess like they really tried to, right the ship of the first one.
Right the ship. They're trying to give the franchise to The Rock.
I mean, but I mean, I don't know. It's just a lot of factors that worked against it. That's just pure and simple. A lot of factors work against that movie.
Hand of Omega was like, if Hasbro was smart, they should spin G.I. Joe off of Bumblebee. Keep both series in the 80s. John Cena could have gained a code name. Now, I'll say this. I finally saw Bumblebee for the first time last.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. I have to admit, I liked it a lot. I especially the G1 Transformers scene on Cybertron. It was like, can we get an entire movie like this, please? This is all we wanted. Like, literally, this is all we wanted. This is all we ever asked for. And can you please give this to us? But outside of that, even then, the rest of the movie is really cool. Even though I guess they're trying to do it as kind of like a soft reboot. So at the end, Optimus was driving down the street with Bumblebee. I just thought it was cool. I thought Bumblebee was a good movie. They need to have a lot less human element in it, but still do a lot without a lot of the human element. But I thought it was great.
Bumblebee was definitely a fun movie. It was definitely a fun movie. And you haven't watched it yet, still?
No, I haven't seen it.
No, dude.
You know,
like
whenever
I
you
said,
got some time, check it out. Like it's
you
worth
should check-
looking at.
I think you will really enjoy it. I really.
I'll check it out. I got to sit down one day and try to watch these movies without falling asleep because that. But I'm
Old
not.
man
Just
syndrome.
like after work, you're just like,
Man, you was such an old man, man. I don't know, dude. I just don't get it.
Oh,
Such an old man, dude. I don't get it. Man. That's something.
that working
GQ's,
hard.
yeah, unfortunately, technical difficulty. Haven't heard from him.
Turn it.
Internet. Yeah, so the legacy of GI Joe, is obviously stood the test of time. A lot of T-shirts. There's been issues of classic shows. Brand. The logo of Cobra is probably one of the better ones of, honestly, of any 80s pop culture icon. You got the Cobra logo, and then you got Cobra Kai. You can take it's like a coin flip. More popular, literally, that's what it is. So, because the logo just looks cool. I mean, I ain't gonna front. I always cape for the good guys, but that Cobra logo is just too cool. It really is. But anyway, guys, so that's been like one big part of our origin story as Culture Junkies. G.I. Joe, a real American hero. We want to thank you all for joining us in this very special episode live. Obviously, we're going to have more shows based on kind of the shows that kind of provided us the origin. It's the graphic. It's on the channel. Here somewhere. Night Riders on Xena Warrior Princess is on the list. The 18 list. Sailor Moon is on the list. A lot of shows that you grew up with and you love. The Teenage Mutant Turtles, they're on the list. So make sure you follow us here on Culture Junkies, our Facebook, also on our Twitter, so you can stay up to breast when our next episode of the shows that make Junkies airs. Any final comments, gentlemen, before we break out?
If you have the opportunity to look back on some 80s nostalgia stuff, do it. That's all I got to say. learn what makes us tick. If you were not old enough to remember any of it, just research it.
That's literally it. They don't call the 80s the greatest pop culture generation. I mean, because it is. It literally is. So much great pop culture stuff came out of the 80s. It's literally the gift that keeps.
Yep.
Hand of Omega wants to ask, who was the hottest Joe babe? Scarlett from the. No, I think. Scarlett from the movie.
Unforgettable.
You mean forgettable?
Completely forgettable. Yes.
I mean, I don't even remember who played her. So I mean,
there you go.
I'm not saying I'm not. There's no
Omega,
slight against the actress, but I'm just saying I don't remember.
But Hand of Omega is right. Like we said before, Baroness became as close to a sex symbol of a cartoon character that it is, and it gave an entire generation of boys a glasses fetish. Absolutely. So, absolutely. So anyway, guys, we hope you enjoy Ghost Kenshiro and Fallen Marvel. Could not join. We'll see you hopefully next week. Live. Are so inclined. Stay tuned tomorrow at 10. Ladies show. Have a great
Peace.
Peace, people.